it to you as a MP4 file. So
Yeah, that's
just know
okay.
that's how you'll get it.
That's okay.
Okay.
Hi, Sam. Judith is here. Say hi to Phyllis for me, please.
Thank you. I will.
Irene just came in as well. So Judith, good to have you, and Irene, good to have you.
Oh, what did I want to ask you, Irene? Did you ask us to pray for somebody?
Oh, my granddaughter's partner was in an automobile accident on the freeway on her way to work as a nurse.
Oh
Yes.
It was, I think, 1 or 2 semis and I don't know, 3 cars or something. Her brand new car was totaled, but she's okay.
Oh, she's okay. Oh, that's good news. But it's a trauma.
Yeah, she might hurt. She still hurts, but she doesn't have any fractures or anything like that.
Oh, good. Your granddaughter?
My granddaughter's partner, yeah.
Your granddaughter's partner, okay.
I think she's pretty lucky that all that got torn up, if she messed with 2 semis, that all that got torn up was her car.
I know, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
But she's getting really good care because she works for Kaiser, and she was wearing her uniform, of course, because she was on her way to work. So they're taking really good care of her.
Nice, that's good. So Irene, anything exciting going on in your park, or pretty much just hunkered down people?
Well, I'm pretty much hunkered down. I'm still doing interviews for the newsletter, which I love to do. And, but otherwise, we're pretty much hunkered down.
You know, the thing of it is, though, things like newsletters become even more important than what they used to be, because I could get away without reading them. Sometimes this is the only way we get to connect with each other is through newsletters now. So, you know.
It's true. I like your bow tie.
Look, it's my whole, I'm formal today.
Oh, that's good. That's great. I thought it was a fake thing like you do the background. Obviously, it's on your shirt.
It might be. You just never know. You don't. I don't let you know all my secrets.
No, that's good. That's great.
Earl, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Jim.
I assume Sandy will be there soon, but she's not there yet.
She's busy trying to get a lunch ready for Mark. So.
Okay, all right.
May or may not, but I hope so.
Good. That your boyfriend or your valet, Irene?
Valet.
My son. He's been driving. Yesterday, we went for a drive while the cleaning lady was here. To the west side of the Tucson Mountains. I had never been over there, and I had no idea so many people lived on the west side of the Tucson Mountains.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff over there. We have some good friends and members of the church. Sometimes you'll see Brad and Brad Siegel. What's his wife's name? Oh,
Dixie?
anyway. Yeah,
Dixie.
They live there in Tucson Estates on the west side.
Oh.
Speaking of go for a ride, my niece in New Jersey was saying they've been having to take their car out for a ride to keep the computer stuff all working because they've been working from home so much they haven't been in their car. But to take the car for a ride to keep it functioning.
So I want all of you to know, and I'll try to keep reminding people of this. Sam asked if I would record this so that he could watch it later. So I'm going to record it and send it just to him, just so you know. So watch
Oh,
it.
just to him.
He had to go and they had something they needed to go to, he and Phyllis. So. Hi Siri, how are you?
How's your father, Siri?
He's hanging in there. Not much has changed, but we're hoping to have a Zoom with him later today.
Oh, good.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
I'm glad at least he's holding on.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing at 92 to have pneumonia and still be holding on
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
for a couple weeks. That's really good.
That's right.
So,
Especially in the midst of days like I got noticed this morning that this lady that I remember from her 30s, that's when I kind of knew her. She was in her mid 30s. That was only about less than 20 years ago. She passed away from COVID, and it's like, wait a second, people that young don't die,
Too young, yeah.
right? And I know she's older than that young, but
yeah.
and we get pretty regular announcements that way, don't we? Right now. And it doesn't matter if it's somebody like Cicely Tyson, who's plenty old enough to pass away. It still is kind of just that hole in the heart, right?
That's true.
Hey, before I get any further, let me start off by going a little bit further in one of the announcements I made today. Because after I recorded that segment with the announcements, I came into my office and there was a piece of paper that gave me even more information about Choose Love mugs. Nancy is actually going to be in the community center parking lot on Saturday for anyone who wants to buy any of those mugs. So I didn't know about that, but know that that can happen. You can get them as a Valentine's Day gift if you want. All right.
I sent one of them to Fitzsimmons because he drew the little
Oh yeah.
princess. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Good idea.
Mm.
So tell me how you are doing living in the mystery of what right now brings to you. What are some of those mysterious elements that are around you that you've realized that you can't control, and yet you're having to live in it?
Mm.
Wow. Let's see.
An interesting question.
Hi, Judith. This is Wendy.
Oh, Wendy, I'm glad you're here. I missed you last Sunday.
I was there.
Oh, I didn't hear your voice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How many, look around the screen here. Let me ask the question I just asked, but in a different way. Look around the screen, and how many have figured out that somebody on this screen is a bit of a mystery to you? That you don't understand everything about who they are or what they do.
Everybody on the screen.
Pretty
Yeah,
close,
right,
isn't it?
everybody.
Partially it's because I don't get to, and maybe this is a prayer of Thanksgiving, I don't get to live inside your head. So I don't get to see all the reasons why you come to whatever conclusion you come to, right? Some of what you are and some of what you do is always hidden from the rest of us. Sometimes in a very frustrating way, isn't it? But how many have somebody who it feels like most of what they do is mysterious to you?
Lots of people.
Yeah.
Hi, Pam.
How many have a hard time because of that, looking at them and seeing presence of God, movement of God, right? Something holy about who they are when you're just trying to figure out how to even view them, let alone understand them. That's sometimes the hardest part about the mystery, isn't it?
I find my animals to have a fair amount of mystery in a way that like humans, I can try to figure it out by talking to people. But with animals, I don't have that opportunity. So I just have to watch them and try to take in what they're doing and really bring it into my awareness what it means. I have a desert box turtle. I have several of them, but I have one who I raised from when she hatched. And so I've had her for 21 years. And one day, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, I guess, I was wondering, why is it she keeps looking down at the ground and looking up at me, looking down at the ground and looking up at me? And other turtles, when they seem to be hungry, they look right straight at me, most of them, and or they run towards me. But this one would just do this. And I thought, it's like, and she seems like she might be hungry. I finally figured out she was looking on the ground to show me there's no food there and I want food to be placed there. And it's like, my gosh, all those years of just not knowing.
Yeah. And it's not that how she was trying to speak was any different than was any less effective than what somebody else was saying, but you just didn't understand it. Yeah.
Mhm.
She wasn't speaking my language as much. Whereas her mom will just look straight at me when she's hungry. And I know, okay, there's something I need to do for her. It's either a walk or it's food. I got to figure it out.
But trying to figure out each other's language is a difficult part, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
And at least part of what I heard in what you said, Siri, is the reason why animals are kind of nice is because we don't try to control them as much. We live with the fact that they are somewhere outside of the controllable space of us, right?
Yeah. We accept them more as they are.
We take we take them more as they are. Nice way to put it. Yeah. And we don't do that as easily with people. I think we often with people look and say, got to fix that about you.
Yeah.
And in some ways that's a compliment because I see you as intelligent enough or capable enough that you can be changed, right? But I don't think we always use it in its positive way.
And animals will always love you no matter what.
I love that about puppy dogs, especially. Cats, I'm not quite sure that's true.
Yeah, I've never had a cat, but dogs for sure. They're quick to forgive and forget. And
Yeah, turtles don't forget that quickly. They know when you screwed up.
But a lot of it does have to do, like you said, Sarah, you have to learn their language. What is it? What is the language that you don't understand about who that other person, that other being is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we have to learn what they really value,
Right.
what's meaningful to them, and
Yeah.
try to operate in their world,
Yeah.
really, in order to have a relationship with them.
And sometimes it's not even what they value, it's what they're used to. If this was always true about this animal, they think that this still needs to be true, and it takes some time to move to a new truth if you want to do that, right? If you want to feed them on a different time schedule, you got to figure out how to undo whatever the other time schedule was that they were used to.
That's true. Yeah.
Did you notice that Marshall is joining us?
I did see that. I haven't seen his beautiful face yet, but
No,
I'm here.
good.
I'm
to
so
see you,
glad you're
Marshall.
here, Marshall.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
How's everyone doing?
Doing good.
How about you?
we're all hanging in there. How are you doing?
I'm doing about the same. Last couple of months have been struggle, but
Yeah.
we're getting through it.
Oh, I hope so.
Marshall, are you pretty high up on the list to be able to get the vaccination, or where are you at that way?
Yeah, I'm on the list right now.
Well,
So
we assume that you're on plenty of lists. I'm talking just about the COVID list.
Thank you for keeping me humble, Jen.
You're on a couple of my list, but those are good lists to be on.
Well, you're on a lot of hearts.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, actually what prompted me was one part of your commentary where you said if we substitute I with we, it turns illness into wellness.
Wasn't that a great quote by Malcolm X?
Yeah.
And it is easy to stay on the I, but that also means that I stay in my own illness, where maybe I need you to heal me in some way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Margie?
anyway, that kind of spurred me to get out a little bit.
Good. Good.
Good.
Just know every time we see you or hear from you, we love it.
We celebrate.
We celebrate it. Thank you.
All right.
So how about the rest of you? How are you dealing with the mysteries of life that you can't control? How many have found that there's something beyond your control in the midst of this? And quit looking at your wife, Earl, because that's who we first look at sometimes with mystery, isn't it? Whoever it is that lives in the chair next to us, right?
I want to know how Margie's doing. Hi, Margie.
Okay. Yeah, I've been dealing with not mystery. I've been having low back pain since sort of middle of October, and it's gotten worse and worse. And right after Christmas, I had an MRI. I have a herniated disc. So I've been in the last few weeks, I've been listening in, but not, it's hard. The hardest thing for me is been sitting for very long, but I'm getting to a point where I think I can now. And so I've been dealing with that really in the new year. And I have had one, I'm having a series of 3 epidural shots. I had one a couple weeks ago. The second one will be Wednesday, and then a couple weeks later. It's helped a lot. I'm managing the pain, but I've had to really cut back pretty much everything I'm doing. So thanks for asking, Pam. I'm doing okay. I'm listening to a lot of things online. I just this week started listening to, my daughter gave me the audio book, Obama's book, audio for Christmas.
29 hours.
And I put it off for several weeks because I had a feeling once I start, I'm not going to be able to stop listening. And that's exactly right. So I'm really deep into that, and I'm just really enjoying it a lot. So I hope everybody else is doing well, and I send my love and, thanks for your support.
Thank you, Margie. Good to have you here with
Thinking
us.
about you.
Thanks.
All right, Marty.
Martha.
Yes, I have COVID, and living, and my son-in-law and daughter also have COVID, and my daughter worked hard and got me to have an infusion, which for someone who is older, you have to have certain qualifications. One is older, and another one is overweight. And so I went in right after I got diagnosed and had, this infusion they give you of the antibodies that helps you fight it. So, so that's what we're doing. We're at home and we're fighting it. We're watching our oxygen levels. We have to, it's like you walk across the house and you practically out of breath, and we have the 2 babies, and the 4-year-old and the 3-month-old, and so my daughter gets hit the most with being very tired. So we do need your prayers. We want to keep at home and not need that hospitalization. And we do have, even my son-in-law has it, who is the critical care doctor. So we have a critical care doctor here at home with us. And I don't know if it's the feeling of being out of breath is very, very scary. You know, when you just do a slight thing of walking, helping or something like that, and suddenly you have that lightheaded feeling and you know, you're out of breath. So yeah, hopefully we'll, you know, we're going to get over this. Your prayers will be important. We want to be able to stay home, of course, and not need any of the hospital type of support. So yeah.
I just
Okay.
wanted to say it's nice, Martha, to hear that you're highly qualified for something. I just wish it was for something different.
I know.
I'm glad you're getting good care though in the midst of things. Personalized care from an ER doctor, but
Yeah.
right?
Not
So,
ER, critical care.
critical care,
He's-
yes.
He's the guy who serves the guys serves the people at the very, he intubates people,
Yes,
which
yeah.
is a very, you know, but he knows all the symptoms. And so he's been having, he's been taking off work, and they're probably really missing him too. But we know where the exposure came from, and there's, you know, after it happened, we knew there was nothing we could do except wait for it to happen to us. So just be real careful, you know.
Yeah.
Keep the mask and on, and that's all I can tell people is the isolation. And we were isolating, we were wearing masks, but there was an occasion of a water heater breaking in our house that caused all this extra exposure. So yes.
Kind of have to repair that, but in the midst of it, there are those dangers, shall we say?
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the reasons why we're afraid about much of the mystery is we're afraid of the danger that we're not sure about that might lie in that mystery, right? And sometimes our fears are come true, and that's difficult when that's true. But it's not the only truth about mystery, is it?
No, some watching, I you know, luckily keep my children don't seem to get this, you know, and my 4-month-old granddaughter is just a joy, and we're watching her get ready to crawl.
Yeah.
You know, she's practicing the rocking and all the things you do to start that big adventure. And so that's what we are really enjoying now, is watching her and my 4-year-old daughter, who has a swing inside of the middle of the house and just sings away. So the two children, it's wonderful that they're doing so well.
Yeah.
So
good.
We don't have to do anything except watch them.
So how about the rest of you? How are you negotiating through the mystery of right now? And especially, how is that helping open your eyes and growing you in this moment?
Well, I'm going to slightly change the subject for a moment, but it has to do with COVID. I've noticed that several clinics across the nation, not all, are giving all their patients at risk one of those pulse oximeters that you stick on your finger to measure oxygen, because they have found that the oxygen drops a few days before you feel the difficulty breathing. And if your oxygen drops and you head for the hospital, they'll treat you right away and be able to head the worst part of it off at the pass. So I recommend that anybody, particularly if you're at high risk, get one of those things, and every morning stick it on your finger. It only takes a few seconds, and read the oxygen amount in your body. And if it suddenly drops like from 96 down to 87, you head for the doc.
The challenge might be, Wendy, because I had to buy one a few months ago for Sister Rebecca, and they were really hard to find, maybe because of what they know this way. And so go and look for them, and hopefully there are some. But if you need to, order one online.
Well, I just got one yesterday and they had two at the Walgreens at Grant and Swan, which
Good.
means they're going to get them in regularly.
Good.
I
I
think
hope
it's
that.
getting a little easier, but check all the pharmacies around you.
Good. Good.
Was I the only one that everybody froze and then I dropped off?
You were the only one. What?
I was kind of hopeful it happened to everybody.
Yeah. No. The thing of it is, when it happened, we all started crying because you left. But
You were thinking, was it something I said, right? Just all of a sudden, right in front, Martha was talking, and then all of a sudden everybody was gone. This has caused me to miss not only the first question, but the second question. So I tried to figure out what the question is by the answers.
the question today is kind of all one big question. How do you live in the mystery? Especially when the person being mysterious, I think, is a challenge to you, or the situation that's being mysterious is a challenge to you, or you just don't want to go down the road where mystery is leading you.
I have a experience to share, and I wouldn't have thought of my grandnephew Jordan as a mystery particularly, but it is a mystery to me how he and his whole family support Trump when 5 years ago a tree fell on his truck as he was driving in a windstorm and paralyzed him from the chest down. And many months and months and months of therapy and hospital treatment, literally millions and millions of dollars in hospital bills. And because he had a part-time job at a boat place, he dropped out of college, trying to decide what to do. He was still on his dad's very good health insurance. So without the Affordable Care Act, their family would be bankrupt, and ours probably would be financially stressed because obviously family helps. So even knowing that, so he and I do a text back and forth intermittently, and I've decided I really want to try to find out how, well, a neighbor said to me, she said, I know you're a Democrat. I cannot figure out how Democrats can believe and think the things they do, but maybe you think that about me. And I thought, well, I never thought anything about her, but then I really thought they think what we think is preposterous just as much as we are thinking the other way. And so I've been having this long text conversation with Jordan. It's causing me to do a lot of homework because he's throwing out the talking points. He says he never watches TV news and he doesn't read the newspaper. So my curiosity is, where does information come in to not just him, but to a lot of people that feel so adamantly on the right? It's been interesting, and I've had to work to get some answers that I also just have a blanket, I have a blanket view. Yeah. And in order to not convince him, but to share my point of view, I've had to back it up. So it's been a learning experience. I really want to kind of get inside some, I won't say Republican, but right-leaning heads and figure it out.
I do think you're right, though. Our sources of information, however it is that we're defining truth, is really important, because if I am believing this particular source and it is wrong, right? If it's just a false source, it's hard for us to come to some kind of a general space. You guys keep talking. I need to answer Peggy. Peggy's calling me. I'll be right back.
Talk amongst ourselves.
Talk among.
Well, Pam, I hope you keep sharing with us what you learn.
Okay. I'll say that one of the first things that I always hear is we should have term limits. I have another cousin that's a Trumper. We should throw them out give them 2 years and throw them out. All Congress is corrupt. All they want to do is preserve their job. And then if they only serve one term, they make their full salary for the rest of their life. I've heard that over and over. And it's absolutely not true. Federal government, you have to be vested for 5 years. We were just a few months shy when the shooting happened. And so they made a special dispensation for those of us in Gabby's office to get vested, because some people couldn't come back to work. Anyway, but I didn't want to just say off the top of my head. I wanted to be able to give him a source, and other than just calling Ron Barber and Kirkpatrick. It's things like that feeds this narrative that they're all corrupt. And my answer to throw them out after every 2 years, I wouldn't want my child or grandchild to go to a school where teachers only were allowed to teach for 2 years and then they had to leave. Or my dentist could only practice 2 years. So I always got a new dentist, because like any job, you get better at it the longer you're there. And we do have term limits in that the voters can throw them out every 2 years. Voters have a choice. So anyway, that was my first, that was this week, working on that one.
Have you asked him if he gets his news off of Facebook?
I have not been able to pin him down yet. He just says he doesn't watch the TV. My guess is he gets his news from just stuff that pops up on on his phone, and his friends.
So that though makes me have to wonder, where is it that I am automatically accepting what might be spurious information because it happens to fit my mode of wanting to think?
Thank you.
Because something comes along doesn't mean that it's necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's passed on to me by quite a number of my St. Francis friends. Right? And we want to trust those friends that we have, but it doesn't mean necessarily that they are perfect purveyors of information.
And now with the distrust of journalism, which is very sad, because we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater, where sensationalist journalism and good journalism are all being lumped into, we can't trust the press, which Biden will try to rebuild. I've already seen that happening, but it's going to take a long time.
Well, and that's especially true when we've had a very purposeful campaign of false news that's essentially used to say whatever I don't want to listen to, or whoever I don't want to listen to. I just call it fake news, right? If I don't want to hear what Wendy has to tell me, I just label her with fake news and no longer have to consider it at all, right? Or whoever else I want to do that to. Now I tend not to use the term fake news, but I do tend to label some people as I don't need to listen to them.
Yeah.
And I got really good reasons why, don't you?
Well, again, it's in the eye of the beholder, because of my lovely 90-year-old neighbor who I get along with fine. And we've just very carefully talked about politics. And I find Laura Ingraham one of the most snarky, pristine of facts. And she's not a journalist, she's an entertainer. And what Martha, my neighbor, says is she's so intelligent and she just says things so clearly. But that Don Lemon is just so hateful and mean. I find Don Lemon very even and level. And so it's almost how our ears are attuned to it. And basically we should get off 24-hour news, right?
Yeah.
Can I just piggyback on that? I have one particular person who's a Facebook friend, been a friend for many years, but is in that same sort of Fox News lane. I unfollowed her a couple of years ago because I just was so reactive to her posts. I just really got me so riled up. And a couple of times I responded, and it was just like we just bumped heads. But I don't follow her. But after the inauguration, it's been a couple years. I just checked in a couple times. I can go back and read what she's written if I want to. I just don't get it every time she posts. And she just posted some things I don't even want to say what they are because they're so way out of where most of this group is coming from. But it was kind of shocking to me that just in a couple of years, how basically she was really reacting to Biden. All these horrible things are going to happen now because he's now the president, and all these things he's overturning are going to, create horrific situations for us. Well, I'll say one thing that I can kind of I can't quite exactly say it the way she said it, but it was clearly lifted from some pundit that she follows, that now that he's rolling back all these LGBTQ limitations, men are going to be going into girls' bathrooms and God knows what will happen then, this kind of thing. And I just can't believe it. But I don't know what my point was in saying this, other than just the two views are getting they're just continuing to get farther and farther apart. And I just think we're kind of coming to a point of there's just going to be some people going one way and some going another way, and we just have to keep choosing love. And for myself, I can check in with that point of view once in a while just to try to see where they are, but I know I can't listen to it much. And I just have to kind of let go of my need to control outcomes with people. When I do talk to people about this kind of stuff, I just have to kind of stand in my own truth, but let go of, I want to fix them, that attitude. Because that's not up to me. I don't have control over that.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit, Margie.
Okay.
I think most of what you said was correct, but I want everyone to try to go back to when you were 13 and 14 years old. Some of you, that's a long way back to go to. But try to remember how at some point during that time, your mom or dad had to talk to you in love. And it was not necessarily pretty words in your ears. I think sometimes the love we have to share has to be honesty. And that's hard love to hear, right? At least part of why we get into the space where we're at is because we have all gotten used to ignoring the false news, the things we don't want to hear. And we need to hear. And and I don't know the right way to do this, because I have definitely told people the truth in an unloving way. But how do we somehow speak truth in a way that shows the love that is behind that truth as well? The love that's in our heart, even as we speak that truth. Go ahead, Pam.
Did anyone read the op-ed or just it was on the editorial page of the Star this week, and I will try to find it, share it with Jim. But it was written by a person who had been, it started with I was an extremist, and a girl that got involved in a cult in her teens, wouldn't listen to parents. And she credited her mother for continuing to reach out in love. And it went clear through her 20s. And it sounded like a very, very right-wing extremist religious group, like the Westboro Baptist kind of group. She didn't ever name it. But by the time she left, she had 2 children and was in her 20s. But she said for all her stridentness and pushing all of this out, there were points at which she began to question. And she gave the example of the chaplain at the private girls' school that she went to. And he would call her in and lambaste her for ruining the reputation of the school, which was liberal school, as opposed to, she said, she always wonders, what if he had listened and helped her explore her own questions? Would she have gotten out 10 years earlier? It really struck me. It was a beautiful, it impacted my thoughts about talking with my grandnephew. A part of it is listening and what brought them to every one of those people storming the Capitol were fairly innocent 3-year-olds at one time. And so how was that clay molded? And I would really encourage you to try to find that article. It was good food for thought.
Good. Thank you. I'll look for it. And if you can send the link to us, we'll try to get it out to each other too. The reason why I said what I said is because trying to figure out the right path of love in each moment is a hard thing. If my wife wasn't here, I'd tell some story about her, about how she has either listened or not listened to me, but she's here, so I have to be quiet about it.
Where is she?
She's one of the phone lines down here.
Joni.
But trying to figure out in each moment, what is the right conversation of love is difficult, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When is it you have to speak the words that are hard to speak and hard to hear? When is it that you ignore what is difficult to look at because you choose the love of forgiveness more than the love of fixing that other person? I don't think there's easy answers to that, right?
Just to clarify a little bit, I didn't mean to be saying that I would never speak to this, that I'm withdrawing from the conversation. It's just that, I don't know, it's becoming clear to me in the last year or so, I think since the pandemic and, everything's gone online, that, we all have different paths, different ways to negotiate it. And somehow for me, where somebody's path may be standing up very clearly and speaking truth to power, doing the kinds of things Pam does. My path is a quieter one of observing and just trying to be loving towards someone, listen to them, try to understand, try to, share when I'm asked. Like, I'm thinking of my daughter right now. She's struggling with a lot of things. She's struggling with an addiction, and I love her. And it's hard to see, but it's her path, and I have to honor that and the direction she's going in her life. And when she asks for my support or my opinion on something, I will give it. But otherwise, I just need to love her unconditionally.
Yeah.
And not try to tell her, this is what I think you should be doing, and I don't think you're right, and this is why. It's her journey.
And that's you're absolutely right. And Margie, I hope you didn't feel that I was really saying you were wrong, because I think much of what you've said first time as well as the second time are absolutely true. It's the path of trying to figure out what is the right answer of how to love in this moment. And it is a very relational thing, isn't it? And there's no way that whatever I did in the last conversation I had with a different person, whatever helped that conversation happen, can't necessarily be the rules that govern this conversation. I have to be in the midst of this conversation at every moment if I'm going to truly love.
If I understood Margie, though, I sometimes choose not to read somebody's Facebook's a cousin, and I didn't unfriend, I just choose not to read them.
Yeah.
because it gets stuff stirred up, or you only read it once in a while. So I think I totally understand. You kind of have to limit the broad.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't unfollow. I have unfollowed a couple of people rather than unfriending.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like that's just cutting things off. But that means I can still read it when I choose to. It just doesn't come up in my feed constantly, you know.
I think part of the issue becomes this, not that that person is right or wrong, but because that person has, or I have a singular way of looking at something. I think that we've gotten used to thinking too easily that there's one right answer to any particular situation. And even if I'm completely right, that my answer is completely true and right, it doesn't change the fact that that other person has some different answer that they think is also right. Even if I'm right, I have to deal with the fact that they think that other answer is right. But rarely do I have, no matter how much I act like it, rarely do I have completely definable right answers that no one can dispute.
So I have a theory that some things are contagious that we don't label as medical illnesses, or maybe they are, but I'm thinking of depression. When I'm surrounded by people who are depressed, it's really hard not to slide into that. And I think that same thing goes with the people who are so strident about the fake news that it puts me in a position of fighting back, not necessarily going their direction, but solidifying my own to the point where I'm as rigid as they are.
Yeah. Rigidity is a really tough thing to overcome in ourselves or in the other person.
It is, but you fragment when you break.
Yeah.
It's not fun to have that fall apart, and it does fall apart. It can't be sustained.
The hard part though, Judy, is that we do a whole lot of stuff that makes it easy to be rigid, especially so if I can define all my Republican friends are doing this thing wrong, so I'm absolutely right. I'm also becoming very rigid in response to what I think is wrong over there, but it doesn't mean my rigidity is good.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. But I love your phrase, the love of fixing. I've exhausted myself on more than one occasion with that. Working at trying to fix somebody and they weren't being fixed.
Yeah.
It just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Well, some of them apparently can change. Like this guy that CNN's Anderson Cooper was interviewing, he was an ex-QAnon believer. And he apologized to Anderson Cooper for formerly believing that Anderson Cooper ate babies, which is one of the big QAnon things. All Democrats, did you know that we all traffic children and eat babies? That's one of their big things. And this guy had believed that. So I have to look at the article more and see what turned him around. Because what turned him around might be something we can gently use with people we know who believe things like that.
Well, probably wasn't a person arguing with him.
No, it obviously was not, because that automatically sets up the,
yeah,
you know.
Well, and I think there's a couple things that will help us in the midst of all this. First of all, it's that self-assessment that I talked about in the commentary. If we don't understand really well where we're at, and especially how it is that what I'm saying is going to be heard by someone else's ears. I don't have to just know what it is, what it is that I hear when I say a certain thing. I need to know what it is that you hear when I say this. Pam, you've had to deal with that, for example, in gun issues. As soon as you say, I'd like some kind of laws around gun safety, some people say, automatically say, you're taking my guns away. And you have to know how they're hearing it, even if you don't agree with that, don't you? And in all these issues, we have to be able to know that if I say it in a certain way, and I may choose to say it in that way anyway, but if I say it in a certain way, that they're going to hear it very differently than what I mean.
I try to always pivot to, do you have children or grandchildren? I know you want them to be safe, so we can at least agree on that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it cools the conversation enough. I'm sure you want your friends to store guns so your grandchildren can't get a hold of them. And it just to find a little chink in the wall for thought. And I may have said this before, but one time a group of the moms demanded, the survivors went up and we talked to people that weren't necessarily our representatives in Arizona. And there was just a really hard-ass guy that he said, I'll make an appointment with you, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to change my vote ever. And walls covered with, very, he really loved his guns. And at the end of it, he said, there were three of us, and shared our stories and shared what we were hoping for and wanting. And he said, I'll never change my vote, but I do have to say, no one's ever taken the time to talk to me before. And I really respect that. And I thought, how, a few more times, maybe he would begin to have that little crack of light. So yeah, it's challenging.
And I've heard that same, no one ever listens to me, reflected very often. And I'm of a mind that doesn't always mean no one's ever listened. They've just started saying you're an idiot because they've listened too much. But that sense of being heard is important in all our lives, isn't it? And how do we help step into those spaces where people feel unheard? The challenge, isn't it? And at least part of what we're talking about, the choose love, which I'm going to do the advertisement again. Choose love. Wait, where is that? Okay, get a mug. The next couple of Saturdays, there will be mugs on sale in our parking lot. Right there, when you bring your peanut butter sandwiches up, you can buy a mug. All right. So come and buy those mugs.
Margie, is there somebody helping with the sandwiches while your back is not there?
Yeah. The good thing about this is that, when we started a course last April or whenever it was, we thought it was just going to be a couple months. The longer it went on, I realized I needed to take some Saturdays off. And so I got a few people to volunteer to, substitute for me. So the last 2 months since Christmas, I've had different people filling in. So through the end of February, at least. And then, I may be able to come back, in a few weeks. I just don't know how this is going to go. But yes, I have people lined up. Pat Fox, Beth Acree, those are the two from St. Francis that, have been really helping. And a couple of friends of mine that aren't connected necessarily.
So as we move into the last 10 minutes of our time together, I want to move in a different direction. I woke up this morning, turned on Facebook, and immediately saw the first two posts were about friends who had died. One of them, person who's about 10 years younger than me, so in her 20s. And she died of COVID and just broke my heart. And then I got, the next one was about Lori Martin DeWitt. Many of you may know her. She was a pastor here in the Tucson area, and she passed away of COVID. And so I want to just, where is COVID affecting your life? How is it? Who do you want to pray for with that disease right now? What's it doing to you?
Well, Martha's whole family for one,
Martha's whole family for sure.
and for those that David Osoyo lost.
Absolutely.
And more people I know either have it or their close friends or their family has it.
Well, and that's what I'd like to hear is if you know somebody whose family or who has caught the disease, let's hold those up and remember those folks.
Well, the Weeklies and the
Well,
Littles.
what about Alice and Bob Weekly? Yeah, Alice and Bob Weekly.
Yeah.
Is Bob home yet? Do you know?
I don't know. I left a message for them this week and they didn't get back to me. It's probably Thursday that I left it. So I don't know.
Well, and the Littles, right, Judy?
Littles as well.
And I talked to Paul Little for his birthday. He was all healed, so I felt like they were out of
Oh,
it.
good. I was walking in that area where there's a urgent care, and they were parked there in a car waiting for an appointment, and rolled down the window and we talked, but they didn't say, well, we have COVID. So I didn't know it till later.
And you know, you have to be careful about all these things because there may be a little bit of shame or a little bit of not wanting to share or a little bit of whatever. And so you don't want to necessarily push people to have to share that's what's going on. But we want to be sure to keep each other in prayers as people are going through whatever they're going through as well.
Yes, and I see absolutely no reason for anybody to be ashamed that they have COVID. But then you don't know how they're feeling or how they got it or what the deal is.
Yeah. Who else do you know that you are praying for in this area?
My daughter-in-law in New York yesterday shared with me that one of her coworkers, they've been working from home, for a year or so, so she hasn't seen him for a while, but he passed away of COVID this week. In his 40s, leaving behind 2 young kids. And it terrifies them because they are in their 40s and have 2 young kids. I think for a long time, it's grandma or grandpa's going to get it. We got to take care of grandma and grandpa, but we can go ahead and go on living. And more and more, I'm hearing people in midlife and younger. So anyway, prayers for my daughter-in-law.
That's
Rambacure.
That's not dissimilar to what Elizabeth told me. Elizabeth has a young family member who has also caught COVID, and so her thought was, I'll catch it before the younger generation will, and suddenly it's reversed.
Yeah,
there's Rambacure. I just found out recently that she had COVID, went into pneumonia, and is apparently becoming a long hauler. She had to give up chair of the ministry committee in the South District because she just can't handle everything. She doesn't have the energy.
She's the pastor.
Say that again, Wendy. I didn't hear.
Beth Rambacure. She's the pastor of Christ Church.
She's on our prayer list.
She's at Christ Church.
Christ Church, yeah. And I have taken classes from her, lay servant classes, and she could get the class on Methodist polity, which, as you know, Jim, is sort of, and she could make it interesting. She's an amazing person and very enthusiastic about all of the Methodist polity and all the everything. And it just hurts my heart that she's going through all this.
We've had several pastors throughout our conference, throughout our South District who
Raven Gaston is another Methodist preacher that has it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. So keep everyone who is having to be in any kind of care situation like that, where they're having to move into spaces where they are vulnerable, them in prayers. Especially let's pray for the two people that we have that are working very directly, like in that area, and that's Mary Plain, Amy Barron Gafford.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
They've both gotten both their vaccinations, both their shots, and so hopefully they are in a safer space than what they would have been before that. But let's just hold them in prayer.
Well, and their emotional challenges, because often, as Mary said, she's the only one who's with someone who dies because the family can't come.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a terrific emotional stress.
I don't think I'm gonna try to watch this anymore. Don't come back because it's almost over.
I also want to have you.
That's Irene's phone. You need to mute her.
I want you to think about what I said at the beginning of the service. If we can celebrate things like people getting vaccinations. If we can make those, so if you're willing to have that happen, call up Melissa and let's just start a list so we can say 15 people, 20 people, 100 people have gotten vaccinated. Each person who is able to do that, it lifts one little piece of weight off of our hearts.
Yeah. Joni, have you had a vaccine?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've had one.
Okay, you're on the way. Good.
Yeah, my second one is February 23rd.
Good, good, good.
Just know that Joni's been receiving pretty regular notices that CDC has been offering a lot of vaccines. And so if you fit the 1B category, they've been open most days, almost every day this last week with a certain amount of vaccines.
Where is that, Jim?
It's on the Tucson Community Center, not community, Convention Center. And they might be open tomorrow, for example, with some open appointment vaccination. So if you're able to get down there, that might be a way to be able to get it.
Or you could get caught in a snowstorm in Oregon and get one.
But they probably gave at TCC, they probably gave 5,000 vaccinations without an appointment this last week.
Wow.
So that might be a space where some of you can get that.
I believe the lines are pretty long, several hours wait. That's what I've heard. So be aware of that if you try.
They weren't always that way. Joni's line was what, 30 minutes maybe, honey?
Yeah, 30 from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Wow.
So as more and more information got out there, they probably got longer and longer and longer. But if I was going to do it, because the way that Joni got the information was through district office receiving an information. And so they're telling schools specifically. So what you want to do is go when you think more educators are in classrooms. So go during the middle of the day, right? And you'll have a shorter line. Don't go at the end of the day, for sure.
But people that don't fall into one of the 1B categories won't be able, even if they get in line, won't be able to get it.
They will not. You have to be a 1B person or a 1A. You could be a 1A still. All right. So
when did Lori die?
I think I've just seen the notice just this morning was the first time I saw it. So I assume in the last day or two.
It's a real hole in my heart because I worked with her.
Yeah.
We didn't always agree, but we did work together.
Yeah.
I'm very sad to hear that, and sad for her husband, who was probably is still a great guy.
Yeah. And the thing of it is whether or not you like everybody or even know everyone who's suffering or dying from COVID, it is leaving huge holes in our country right now, and thus in our own personal hearts. And so the rallying we need to do around each other is essential over the next little while.
I'd like to say something to Margie. A friend reminded me this week that sometimes as parents, we wear bloody lips.
Oh.
Thank you.
Interesting.
I think she was trying to tell me not to tell my children something. I think that was the point of her reminding me. Her mother used to always say that. So.
You know, if love was easy, we would have solved this world long ago.
Right.
Being able to be loving people is a challenging thing. And so keep doing whatever you can to love. It is worth the effort, but it is a challenge. Know my heart is with you as you do all that work. And call me up if you want to yell and scream about something that didn't go the way you thought. All right. Love you guys. Take care.
Love you.
Bye,
Bye.
Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.